Hi all, welcome you all to the lecture video session on project evaluation and selection. In the previous lecture videos, we have discussed about formulation of the project report and what is the importance of capital budgeting and the rest of the capital building and the importance and then the significance and then the need of the project report. So now in this lecture video we are going to discuss about project evaluation and selection. Once the project report is formed and then submitted to any financial institution, project will be evaluated against some set of the points that it indicates. Project evaluation involves evaluating the potential projects and then deciding of which of them can be moved forward and then taken for the implementation status. So the benefits and then the consequences, advantages and disadvantages, limitations of the project, and then the time that it is suitable, time that is suitable for the implementation, and then all the merits and demerits of the project will be studied thoroughly, and then it will be taken for the selection process. And all these points have to be considered, and then it has to be evaluated. The points that we are going to consider may be qualitative and the quantitative. It could be that the advantages and the disadvantages that are listed out may be tangible and or it could be intangible. Quantitative benefits could be financial, qualitative benefits could be having the social impact, such as the quantitative impact could be showing with the help of the increase in the sales or the profits, or it could be the reduction in the costs as well. Intangible benefits may be with relevance to the social relevance and then the customer satisfaction, or it could be like improving the company's public image. It may help in the in improving the company's public image and the employee morale as well. So on the other hand, there are some consequences which could be quantitative or qualitative as well. So there are some consequences that are quantitative, which are associated with each project, and cost that is required for to implement the project is one of the quantitative consequence, that if at all there is insufficient funds, then it could definitely disrupt the work that is throughout the project. So the project will definitely undergo the loss of the time, and then it may overshoot the project cost as well, or the project may not be implemented completely. Some consequences can be less intangible or less tangible, and there could be some legal barriers that could be provoked in the mid, or there could be some kind of reaction from the public. These are all going to be less tangible, but definitely it will have its effect on the brand image of the company. So the steps that are followed in the project selection process that I have listed out. The first step is to develop a set of criteria which is with the project will be evaluated. The first one is the alignment with the company's goal project, whether it is aligned with the company's goal or not, and what is the anticipated sales volume with the introduction of the new project. What is the increase in the market share that has to be seen, and establishment of the new markets, anticipated retail price, investment that is required. All these are going to be evaluated against the project that is proposed, and the project will be evaluated based on all these points. So the technology development that is required, it is going to be evaluated so that it will show the longevity of the project that is developed in the current scenario. So it also should be evaluated against a competitor's reaction, and then the share of the market, and then the expected time frame to execute, and then the regulatory approval that is to be obtained. And the second most important in evaluating the project is the list based assumption of the project. We need to list out the assumptions of the project, like we need to understand that the assumptions, like the projections, what we are projecting in the project report are based on the assumptions. So if one project is built on site, then it has to be evaluated according to the parameters that are associated with it. So if at all, for example, if it is a daycare center, then if at all the project is to build on the on-site on-site care daycare center has to be developed for the children as well as the elderly relatives of the employees, company employees. One assumption might be that the company would be able to obtain a bank loan to build such a center, or other could be the investment of the people who are involved in it, and so it has to be evaluated for the purpose that it is projected against. So the third one is gather data and information for each project to help ensure an intelligent decision regarding the project selection. So all the preliminary data and the data regarding the financial investment, and it also has to gather the the revenue projection, and also it has to project the operating costs as well. So once the data is collected, then it has to be analyzed using the mathematically based financial models, so that the projects can be compared on equal basis. Once this is done, such financial economic models can include the methodologies used to calculate the simple payback period, return on investment, and then the internal rate of return. It also should show the discounted cash flow and the net present value NPV, and also it should show the payback period as well. So once this is shown, then the life cycle cost of the project can be calculated, which would be projected in the project report, and the project report has to be evaluated against the life cycle cost of the project. So next is the evaluate each project against each criteria. So there are certain criteria that the project is associated with. So each project against a criteria have to be evaluated. So once all the data and the informations have been collected, analyzed, and then summarized for each potential project, then they should be given to all the individuals who are responsible for performing the evaluation. So it is always beneficial to give it to have several individuals, like many individuals involved in the evaluation process, so that each one point will be looked at very carefully, and then each one's opinion will be collected, gathered, and then evaluated, so as to make the project report even more relevant one, and then the potential one. So once this is done, if at all the several individuals who are involved in the evaluation of the project are from different domains like marketing, operations, production, and then the procurement, then each one of them are going to evaluate the project against these points, which are very much pillars of any project, and then there will be a conclusion that is drawn based upon all the opinions that are gathered. So thereby the evaluation of the project will go smoothly, as well as it will be relevant to the points that are projected in the project report. So once the project report is evaluated, next comes the question of project financing. The financing is very much required for any kind of project, and then the project financing may be defined as raising of the funds to finance the project. Economically, the project may be economically separable capital investment proposal, in which the lenders mainly rely on the estimated cash flow from the project to service their loans. This is what exactly is the definition of the project financing. So the project financing definition says that it could be a separable capital investment proposal, and the stakeholders always relies on the projection of the project report in terms of all this estimated cash flow from the project. So project financing, it always differs from the conventional financing. Project financing is only one time financing. Conventional financing is totally different from the project financing. The cash flows that are made, cash flows, and then the sources of finance, assessment, and the monitoring processes of the projects are different from conventional financing budget projections. And sources of the project finance could be anything, depending on the investment pattern, depending on the type of the firm, so depending on the stakeholders, and depending on the interest, depending on the brand image of the company, everything. So the sources of project finance could be from the ordinary shares. It could be a public-private partnership. It could be there could be preference shares. There could be debentures, bonds, and then the term loans can be drawn, and the term loans and the working capital can be drawn under a single window scheme. There could be deferred credit. capital investment subsidy, and then the lease financing, unsecured loans, internal accruals, and bridge loans. These type of investments, these type of financing could be the option for the project finance. When we think about the project, when we think about how the project financing is going to be different from the conventional financing, is that in conventional financing, cash flow from different assets and businesses are combined, but in project financing, it is not going to be combined. Credit in conventional financing, a creditor makes an assessment of the repayment of his loan by looking at all the credentials, all the cash flows, cash inflows, and then the resources of the borrower. But in project financing, cash flows from the project is related to only the project, and then the assets that are the assets alone are considered for assessing the repaying capacity. So even if one is already established with many projects, the project finance will not combine one project asset to the other project asset. So in conventional financing, end use of the borrowed funds is not strictly monitored by the lenders. But in project financing, the end use of the borrowed funds will be strictly monitored, and it will be utilized for the particular project purpose only. Funds are also released in stages and when as and when the assets are created in project financing. And in conventional financing, the creditors are not interested in monitoring any of the project, but they will be only participating in financing the project. So project financiers are keen to watch the performance of the enterprise and then suggest at the remedial measures also if there is any measures to be taken whenever it is required, and it is going to help in cash generation as well. In project financiers, financers, at times they appoint the nominee in the board of directors of their clients. This helps in monitoring the project's operating performance of the companies as well. So after the project cost is ascertained, or project cost is made, then the sources of finances are available for meeting the project costs that are to be analyzed, and then the project combination of the different sources whatever the project has got will be chosen for the most suitable project. And then the various sources of finance can be broadly divided into two categories, that is equity capital and then the debt capital. Debt capital goes with the borrowed capital, equity capital goes with the investment by the investor. The combination of the equity and the debt it can be intelligently chosen. It will vary according to the nature of the project. So sources of the project finance already I have mentioned. And project implementation phase. One more very important point is that a debt equity ratio, generally it will be in the ratio of 2:1 or 2:1 to 3:1. It is expected by the financial institutions and depending upon the nature of the project. So project implementation phase is that project implementation phase, a number of network techniques have been developed for the project implementation. Every entrepreneur should draw an implementation timetable for the project. So once the timetable is drawn for the particular project, then it is very easy for the investor to understand what should be the implementation schedule. The network having been prepared, the network will be prepared, and then the project authorities they will be now ready to put on themselves onto the main task of the implementation of the project. So to begin with the successful implementation of the project, it will depend on how well the investor is prepared of and how well the network has been formed or designed. So during the course of the implementation, there will be many factors that will come out of the implementation part, and which could be anticipated in advance, or which might not be anticipated as well, but it could be adequately taken care in advance, and then that has been built into the initial network itself. So there are a number of network techniques, and these network techniques have been developed for the project implementation. These the implementation networking techniques are popularly PERT, Program Evaluation Review Techniques, CPM, Critical Path Method, JERT, Graphical Evaluation and Review Technique. workshop analysis scheduling program, and last one is LOB, line of balance. So with this we are going to see that what is exactly the project implementation phase with respect to the monitoring and controlling of the project through the various techniques. Two of these techniques are very popular. Those are the two techniques which are very popular are PERT and CPM, which we are going to discuss in length in the upcoming lecture videos. Thank you everyone. See you all in the next lecture video session.